A small mistake in the rent agreement, a big loss for the tenant. Imagine you have arrived in a new city for a job. You have luggage in your hand, a dream of a new beginning in your mind, and a nice-looking house in front of you. The landlord smiles and says, "These are just formalities, sign the rent agreement, and then the key is yours." You are tired, you want to shift quickly, and you think, what could be written in the agreement anyway? It must only have the rent, deposit, and address. But the real fear begins here, because many times, the same paper that people sign thinking it is just a formality, later becomes the reason for losses worth thousands of rupees, legal tension and mental stress. The story is not that simple. A rent agreement is not just a receipt for taking a house but a legal promise between you and the landlord. Every word written in it can later go in your favor and also against you. Tenants often become happy after looking at the location, rent, parking, lift, water and security of the house, but they skip the small lines of the agreement. This is the biggest mistake. Because if tomorrow there is a dispute, the deposit gets stuck, the rent suddenly increases, or the landlord puts forward a condition that you never even read, then the first question asked will be, what is written in the agreement? India's rental market is very large, but a big part of it still runs on trust and verbal understanding. In many places, people think the landlord is good, the discussion is done, there will be no problem. But the problem comes when relationships change, circumstances change, or money comes into the matter. The day you want to leave the house, words like painting, cleaning, maintenance, damage, and notice period suddenly start feeling very heavy. First of all, it is important to understand the lock-in period. This is the condition in the agreement where it is decided that both the tenant and the landlord will remain bound to the agreement for a minimum period. Suppose you have made a 12-month agreement and it has a lock-in period of 6 months. Now, if you get transferred, your job changes, a family emergency comes and you want to leave the house in the 3rd month, the landlord can say that the lock-in period has not been completed. In such a situation, he may ask for the rent of the remaining months or hold back the security deposit. So sign only after checking the lock-in period. If your job is transferable, your business is uncertain, or you are new to the city, then a very long lock-in can become a risk for you. After this comes the notice period. Many tenants think that if they want to leave the house, they will simply inform and move out. But the agreement often states that notice must be given 1 or 2 months before vacating the house. If you do not give notice, the landlord may deduct 1 or 2 months' rent from your deposit. Similarly, if the landlord suddenly asks you to vacate the house, then he should also give notice according to the agreement. That is why the notice period should always be equal and clear for both sides. A notice clause that puts the burden only on the tenant may feel unfair later. The security deposit is the most sensitive part for tenants. In many cities, the deposit is equal to 2 months' rent, while in some places even more is demanded. In the Model Tenancy Act, 2021, it has been said that the security deposit for residential premises should be limited to 2 months' rent, and for non-residential premises up to 6 months, but this is a model law, and rules applied in states may be different. That is why it is important to understand both the local rule and the agreement. Always keep payment proof while paying the deposit. Avoid giving money in cash. It is better to make payment through bank transfer, UPI or check, so that you have a record later. The biggest fight happens over deposit refund. If the agreement only says that deduction will be made in case of damage, then this line is very loose. Later, the landlord can make deductions in the name of painting, deep cleaning, pipe repair, switchboard, tiles, curtain rods, or small things. So the agreement should clearly mention what will be considered normal, wear and tear, and what will be considered actual damage. Slight aging of the wall can be normal, but breaking the wall is damage. Old paint fading can be normal, but hiding major seepage can become a dispute. The more clarity there is in the agreement, the less fighting there will be. Definitely do a move-in inspection while taking the house. This is a very practical thing, but people ignore it. Before entering the house, take photos and videos. Keep clear recordings of the walls, doors, windows, bathroom fittings, kitchen slab, fans, lights, tiles, seepage, cracks, and meter reading. It is better to send these photos to the landlord on WhatsApp or email and write, "This is the current condition at the time of taking the house." This way, if any old fault is later put on your head, you will have proof. Do not take the rent escalation clause, meaning the rent increase condition, lightly. Many agreements say that the rent will increase by 10% every year. It sounds like a small thing, but it affects the budget. If the rent is 25,000 rupees and it increases by 10% every year, then next year it can become 27,500 and then around 30,250 rupees. So how much the rent will increase, when it will increase, and on what basis should be clear. Some landlords try to increase rent in between by taking the name of market rate. If the date and percentage are clear in the agreement, the tenant remains more protected. The responsibility of maintenance and repair should also be very clear in the agreement. Usually small everyday things like changing bulbs, minor cleaning or minor usage-related expenses can fall on the tenant. But things like building structure, major plumbing, seepage, wiring fault, society-level repair, lift issue or structural damage are generally considered the owner's responsibility, unless something else is clearly written in the agreement. Many times, society maintenance is put on the tenant in the agreement, but sinking fund, major repair fund or owner-related charges are also included in it. That is why it is important to ask for a breakup of society charges. Clarity is also necessary regarding electricity, water, gas, parking and club charges. The tenant should know whether electricity will come through a separate meter or a fixed amount has to be paid. Whether water charges are included in rent or separate. Whether parking is free or paid. Who will pay society entry charges, move-in charges, tenant verification charges and club charges. Many times after liking the house, these extra charges come forward and the monthly expense becomes much higher than the rent. So before signing the agreement, understand the total monthly cost, not just the rent. The subletting clause is also very important. Some tenants think that if they live alone in the house, they will later keep a friend with them or give one room to someone else. But in many agreements, keeping someone else in the house or subletting without the owner's written permission is considered a violation. There is a difference between family stay, guests, paying guests and sharing arrangements. If you are planning shared living, then the names and permission should be clear in the agreement. Otherwise, later the landlord can accuse you of breaching the agreement. The termination clause, meaning the condition for ending the agreement, should also be read carefully. It should mention in which situations the tenant or the landlord can end the agreement. Will there be immediate termination if rent is delayed? How many days of grace period will there be? Can the landlord make you vacate the house if he sells the property? Can the tenant get an early exit in case of job transfer or emergency? If these things are written in advance, confusion in the future reduces. Registration and stamp duty of the rent agreement should also be understood. In India, rent agreements are generally made for 11 months because for lease agreements of 1 year or more, the registration requirement becomes stronger. But this does not mean that an 11-month agreement should be casually made without stamp paper or proper execution. The agreement should be on appropriate stamp paper, and the signatures of both parties, witnesses, address proof and terms should be clear. A registered agreement can become stronger evidence in a dispute, especially in long-term tenancy. Local state rules may differ, so it is better to take legal advice in big amount or long-term leases. Police verification should also not be taken lightly. In many cities, landlords get tenant verification done, and in some places there is a local police portal or offline process. The tenant should not look at this with fear. It is for safety and record. But if there is pressure to pay extra illegal charges, give unnecessary documents, or sign blank papers in the name of verification, be careful. While giving a copy of your ID like a passport, write the purpose on it, such as for rent agreement and tenant verification only. This reduces the risk of misuse. The indemnity clause sounds like difficult English to many people, so they leave it as soon as they read it. But its meaning is very simple. If because of any loss claim or legal problem, any party has to pay compensation, then whose responsibility will it be? If the agreement has a very broad indemnity in which every kind of risk is put on the tenant, then be careful. For example, if the building's old wiring was faulty and there was a fire risk, then its responsibility should not automatically be put on the tenant. The responsibility should be of the person whose mistake or control the issue was under. Another dangerous thing is blank clauses or empty spaces. Never sign an agreement in which rent, date, deposit, notice period or address is left blank. Many times it is said, "Sign now, we will fill it later." This is very risky. Later, it becomes easy to change the terms and the tenant does not have proof. Initialing every page of the agreement is also a good practice so that the possibility of replacing a page later is reduced. The tenant should also check with whom the agreement is being made. Is the person taking the rent actually the property owner? If he is not the owner, does he have a power of attorney or authorization? Many times a broker or relative gets the agreement done, but later the real owner creates a dispute. That is why seeing basic things like property ownership proof, electricity bill, property tax receipt, or authorization letter is wise. This is not a matter of suspicion, it is a matter of safety. Brokerage should also be clearly written or confirmed. In many cities, brokers take 1 month's rent, somewhere half, and somewhere they take from both the owner and the tenant. But in some cases, brokerage is demanded even on renewal. So take written confirmation from the broker in advance about how much the brokerage is, when it has to be paid, and whether anything has to be paid on renewal or not. This may seem like a small thing, but later it can become an unnecessary dispute. If the landlord enforces any unfair condition, first calmly read the agreement. Then communicate in writing. Instead of arguing over the phone, it is better to write the issue on WhatsApp or email so that a record is created. If the deposit is being wrongly withheld, ask for item-wise deduction and bills. If the rent is being suddenly increased, show the escalation clause of the agreement. If there is pressure for eviction, understand the notice period and legal process. Many disputes get resolved through discussion, but documentation is always your strongest support. The tenant should keep a complete record of rent payment. While transferring rent every month, write the month in the narration, such as rent for March 2026. If cash payment is unavoidable, definitely take a receipt. The receipt should have the amount, date, month, property address, and the landlord's signature. Giving cash without a receipt can prove to be the biggest mistake in the future, because later proving payment becomes difficult. Even at the time of agreement renewal, do not blindly accept old terms. Many people think that the same old agreement is just being extended. But in renewal, rent increase, deposit adjustment, maintenance change, notice period, or lock-in conditions may change. So read the renewal agreement as carefully as you read the first agreement. If you do not understand something, do not sign after hearing this is a standard clause. Standard is only that which is fair and clear. The most important lesson of this story is that a rented house is not just 4 walls. It is a decision connected to your salary, your family, your privacy, and your peace of mind. A signature done in haste can become heavy on many months of earnings. But if you read the agreement, keep proof, understand the clauses, and get unclear things clarified in writing, then you can save both your money and your rights. So the next time a landlord or broker tells you that the agreement is just a formality, stop. Drink a glass of water, open the paper, read every clause, and only then sign. Because the biggest protection for a tenant is not the landlord's smile, but a clearly written agreement. And the small lines hidden in this agreement decide whether, when you leave the house, your deposit will come into your hands or only regret.
This video has taught you something new. Or if you feel this information should reach more people, don't forget to like and share the video. Your small share can become valuable and useful information for someone else. If you have any questions related to this topic, or if you would like to share your opinion with us, be sure to write in the comment box. We read every question and suggestion from you, because your feedback inspires us to create better content. And if you want to keep receiving such interesting and reliable information about business, the economy, and the world in the future, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel GRT Business and also press the bell icon so that you get notifications of every new video directly. At GRT Business, we always strive to provide you with accurate, balanced, and reliable information. Our news and analysis are prepared based on information obtained from various news agencies, public sources, and public opinion. We make every effort to verify and validate each fact as much as possible. But in case of any possible error or dispute, the responsibility lies with the respective sources. Our only aim is to present you with a correct and trustworthy perspective so that you can understand any topic better.